In this video, I'll be discussing double declining depreciation method. Basically, this method is used to double the pace of declining balance depreciation, which itself is an accelerated way of depreciation. Usually, companies would do double declining balance depreciation when they need money quicker for projects. However, it's not allowed in all jurisdictions, and sometimes a lot of stringent rules are uh, applied to it. So you need to make sure that your accountant or someone who's in position to approve this does actually approve it before you actually implement it in your organization. To calculate double declining method, click in B13 equals. The argument that Excel provides is DDB, open parenthesis, cost, that is the initial cost at which you bought this asset. For us, that is $50 million, and the asset that we have bought is Kinku office building. The cell reference is B5, and we need to make sure that it is absolute as we copy it down. To do that, press F4, comma, the salvage value is the value of the asset left after its economic use, which is in B7. Again, make it absolute, press F4, comma, the life of the asset, that is the economic life. For us, it's 40 years. It's going to be B9, F4 to make it absolute. The period is that the period we're calculating the depreciation for, and in this particular example we are calculating for the first year, which is in A13, and this doesn't have to be absolute because as we copy it down we need to make sure that this argument actually changes. The last option that you see in brackets is factor. Now that is how much by what speed you want to accelerate your depreciation. By default is 2, and we will leave it as 2. However, if you wanted to make it depreciate by a factor of 3, you just put comma and put 3 and hit enter. However, we're just going to leave it as 2 and hit enter. So in the first year we're going to have depreciation of $2.5 million. Drag it down and you can see as we are going down towards the 10th year the depreciation is getting less, and in the first few years it's actually higher. The next step that you might be interested in is actually knowing the new value of the asset after the depreciation. To do that, click in C13 equals the initial cost, which is in B5. Make that absolute as we drag it down, minus the sum of the depreciation, which is in B13, and we need to make sure that that is absolute as we drag it down, colon B13, sorry, let's just type it manually, colon B13, and minus B13, sorry, plus B13, close the parenthesis, hit enter, and in the first year the new value would be $45 million. That does not sound right because I was not supposed to do this. Okay, so the new value is supposed to be $47.5 million. Again, the mistake that I actually made here was I added another B13, which was incorrect, but the idea here is to understand this bit. We need to make sure that the first reference to the year is absolute, and then as we accumulate it, the other reference needs to be relative. That is to ensure that as we drag it down we get the correct figure. Hit enter and drag it down to get the answer. That's pretty much it, but again, before you actually implement this in your organization, it is best in your company's interest to ensure you get proper guidance and help before using this type of depreciation.